Yes, sir. Good morning. Is it that you think that we should give legal status to all the Latinos, sir?
Let's recognize that not all undocumented immigrants are Latinos. Look, I believe that our organization has come out with a 5-point approach. We need to strengthen border security, deploy all of our assets to basically seal the border. We have a situation of violence, of drug trafficking. We want to make sure that we have control of our borders. We need to enforce immigration law domestically, but prioritize our enforcement efforts to go after undocumented immigrants who are involved in criminal activity. Third, we do believe in legalization, not amnesty. And this is something that is discussed in a very superficial way. You know, every time you say you're for legalization, people say you're for amnesty. No, we're for legalization with a penalty. People would have to come forward, pay a fine, perhaps even do community service. But the fact of the matter is that most law enforcement experts will tell you it's impossible to deport all undocumented immigrants. And finally, we need a demand-based guest worker program that allows, that facilitates foreign workers to come in the country. I think to resolve the immigration issue, we have to recognize that our economy has a demand for foreign workers to do jobs that Americans don't want, or frankly, jobs where there's simply no Americans of working age to do them. And then finally, we need to promote patriotic assimilation, encourage immigrants to learn English, learn our history, and U.S. civics. That's the plan. So yes, legalization is a component, but legalization with a penalty.
Steve, Republican in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Welcome.
Hey, how you guys doing this morning?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for calling.
That's good. When are we going to start prosecuting the employers that are hiring all these illegal immigrants? That's the whole problem. The corporations are bringing these Mexicans over here for cheap labor.
Well, that's an extraordinary question. I would say, however, that we're bringing foreign workers because the market needs that workforce. There's a misperception out there that undocumented immigrants are competing against Americans for jobs. That's just not the case. Immigrants are in the extreme poles of the labor market. They perform unskilled jobs that Americans don't want to do, or very high-level jobs that require very advanced degrees. Americans are mostly in the middle. So they're not competing against Americans for jobs. Our economy cannot grow without those immigrants. However, they definitely drive wages down in some industries, but in most industries, they're not driving wages down. So the reason why employers are recruiting undocumented immigrants is not because they want cheap labor, it's because they want labor. And the basic resource of an economy is people. We need that foreign workforce. Now, I think we should have employer sanctions once we fix the problem. But we shouldn't criminalize employers who cannot find American workers to do jobs. I've met, I'm the former chief of citizenship of the United States under the Bush administration. I've traveled all over the country meeting with employers and immigrants, and I've had many employers tell me, you know, I cannot find American workers in places like Iowa, Colorado, and other places. So we shouldn't criminalize good employers who are trying to find a way to run their businesses.
Let's go to Kansas. Helen, Democratic caller. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you.
I'd like to say to you, first of all, the jobs that the immigrants are doing, sure, we would love to have those jobs. They won't even hire a lot of blacks and whites for these jobs anymore because they have already promised them to the Mexicans. And no, I personally don't feel like there should be an open road to anybody coming into this United States. And the term anchor baby, I hate it. They can solve the immigration problem if all of the mothers who gave birth to the children were citizens when they gave birth to those children. There would not be an immigration problem. Does that make sense to you?
Well, I appreciate the question. However, doing away with birthright citizenship would would mean going against our constitutional traditions. We do have the 14th Amendment that clearly states that anybody born or naturalized under the jurisdiction of the United States is a citizen. And the purpose of that amendment was to guarantee full citizenship and equality to every single American born in the United States. Obviously, that was right after the Civil War, and the Congress wanted to make sure that every single African American was recognized as a full citizen. The only groups excluded at that time were Native Americans born in sovereign tribal nations and the children of diplomats, who were considered to be born in separate political communities or collectives. At that time, there were no undocumented immigrants. So for us to change our constitutional tradition and say that people born here are not necessarily American, that would go against the most basic principles our country stands for. And let me tell you, it wouldn't solve the immigration issue. I think that the unions don't want to see more guest workers because they're the ones that argue that they're taking away American jobs. That is just factually not right. We need foreign workforce because, frankly, we don't have enough Americans of working age to do those jobs. We need to facilitate that legal flow.
This from the Washington Times, an AP story by Ben Evans. GOP calls for 14th Amendment review, and it says that Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky said yesterday he supports holding hearings on the 14th Amendment right, although he emphasized that Washington's immigration focus should remain on border security. His comments came as other Republicans in recent days have questioned or challenged birthright citizenship, embracing a cause that had largely been confined to some on the right. The senators include Arizona's John McCain, the party's 2008 presidential nominee, also Arizona's John Kyle, the GOP whip, Alabama's Jeff Sessions, the top Republican on the Judiciary Committee, and South Carolina's Lindsey Graham, a leading negotiator on immigration legislation. What does this do to the Latino vote among, trying to get them on board with Republican ideas?
Well, it certainly doesn't help, and clearly those moves smell of politics in an election year. But as a conservative, as somebody who believes in strict constructionism, I cannot defend those positions. Changing our constitutional tradition of birthright citizenship is going against our constitutional tradition. It's going against what the Constitution says and the intent of those who drafted the 14th Amendment. It was mainly Senator Howard. So if we are the party of strict constructionism, of interpreting strictly our Constitution, why are we the ones proposing an activist view of citizenship, changing the meaning of citizenship in the United States? It's really beyond me. And again, I think what conservatives need to understand that those positions may help you win one or two elections, but it will not help you advance the movement, the principles that we stand for at the national level. We are a movement of principle. So again, I just think we have to go back to the principles that Ronald Reagan stood for. This is not about watering down the Republican message or the conservative message. It's actually going back to what we stand for. We are the party of the free market, and immigration is part and parcel of the free market paradigm.
Newport Richey, Florida. Ann is calling us on the Republicans line. Good morning.